Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us during your lunch break for What's New in G Suite. We are really excited to share with you some of the new features and tools that Google has been rolling out over the past few months. And if you've worked with Google at all, you know they are constantly rolling out new functionality. And we don't have enough time today to share everything with you, but we have chosen some of our favorite new features and also some tools that we think will be most beneficial to users here at NC State. So we're excited to demo some of these for you and also provide you a little bit of a sneak peek into what's to come in the next few months from Google. So we will start with introductions so you can know whose voice you're hearing on the other end of your computer. My name is Katie McInerney. I'm the training coordinator with the Office of Information Technology. We also have with us today Louise Flynn, who is one of the OIT trainers and the graphic designer for OIT, and you will be hearing from her later on in the second half of today's presentation. For those of you who are new to YouTube Live, and for those of you who might might be returning to using the tool after a while, we wanted to provide some housekeeping tips and reminders. First of all, YouTube Live is not a two-way communication tool, so we can only broadcast out to you. So if you do have questions about the content that we're sharing, or if you have any technical difficulties or need to alert us of any issues that you're experiencing with YouTube, please use the Google document that has been shared in the video description. So right underneath the video in the description section, you should see a URL that you can highlight and then paste in a new window or a new tab, so you can still have the video active and the Q&A document active as well. You also should have received that link in the reminder email that you received earlier this morning. So feel free to type questions. We will try to answer them if they are relevant to the content at that time. Otherwise, we'll probably wait till the end. We have a lot to cover today. We want to make sure we get to everything in the hour and the time that's allotted. There is a slight delay in the time that we are talking and broadcasting to the time that you will actually hear it. So if there's a little delay in the time that we answer your questions, that is why, but thank you in advance for being flexible with us. We will get to those questions as quickly as we can. You'll also see a link to an evaluation in the Q&A document, and we definitely value your feedback. We want to make sure that we're highlighting topics that are important to you and that you're having a positive experience within YouTube Live. So at the conclusion of today's presentation, we will ask that you take about 2 minutes to click on that evaluation link and let us know your thoughts. So today we are going to cover a lot of different features and functionality throughout the G Suite apps, and so you'll see a list on your screen. I'm not going to go through every single bullet there, but you'll see a list of all the apps that we're going to touch on this afternoon, along with some expected new releases that we hope will roll out in the next month or two. And then, of course, we'll end with Q&A. A lot of the times we get questions about how users can get updates on any of the new releases that we share in these webinars or in our training classes. And there's various channels that you can follow when it comes to Google and their new functionality. But I think the best way to do so here at NC State is to subscribe to OIT News, which is a monthly electronic newsletter that will pop up in your inbox every month, typically around the 15th of each month. And not only does that newsletter provide technical updates on some more IT projects that we're working on, but you'll also get Google updates. And we try to highlight 1 or 2 new features and then link you to even more information about what you can expect to hit Google in the next month. There's also general tips for staying safe online that can be useful for anyone that you're working with as well as students. So we definitely hope that you will spread the word to those that you work with on a regular basis about OIT News. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and kick off some of the new features with Gmail. This seems to be one of the more popular tools that people are using here on campus, since this is the primary way that we use email. We did want to remind everyone that if you haven't seen it already, that there is a new interface for Gmail. It has been optional, so users have been able to opt in over the past few months, but it's actually going to become the default interface. It's going to be slowly rolling out to users. You might have seen it already. Your colleagues might have seen it already, but be on the lookout for this. It's very similar, I think, to the classic version, and there's several settings that you can configure that will make it look even more similar to the classic version. You do have the ability to revert back to the classic interface through the middle of October. However, we do highly recommend that you start using the new interface if you haven't already, because that way you can become more familiar with it, you'll be more comfortable with the layout, and you can report any issues or concerns to OIT or directly to Google before it becomes the default later in October. So definitely start getting more involved and comfortable with the new Gmail. I think you'll be really happy with the move. Along with the new look, we have seen some new features in Gmail. Display density, I think, is going to definitely help you make it look more to what you're used to in the classic version, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Any of you who have been using labs in the older version, you can still find those labs under an advanced tab in the settings. For those of you who aren't familiar with labs, they are basically test features that Google makes available to users to try out and to see if they're working well or not within the product. So some of those labs have been moved over to regular features now, and then others are available for opt-in in the advanced tab. Smart Reply is something that's also new to the web interface. Some of you might be familiar with it from your mobile app, but basically it uses AI to recommend quick responses to emails that stay kind of within the way that you might write. So here's an example on the screen of a quick response or a smart reply that you might want to select to communicate back to the sender. And I've also heard rumors that this is going to be optional. Right now, it's a regular feature that you can't toggle on or off, but I do believe later this year, hopefully, users will be able to turn this on or off. So be on the lookout for that. I also like the new nudges feature that Gmail has available. So nudges basically remind you that you need to follow up with a particular message. That's really helpful for me because sometimes you respond to someone and expect a response back, but you might go several days without hearing from them and forget to follow up. So this way Google does that reminding for you. So they will remember for you that you haven't received a response back from someone and that you should probably write them back to make sure you have all the answers that you need. So nudges are definitely a helpful feature. And then there's also a new sidebar in Gmail. And this sidebar comes with some quick apps that allow you to get to other apps quickly, basically, kind of shortcuts into other tools that Google provides. Some examples are Calendar, Keep, and Tasks. And we also expect additional apps to be added to that sidebar over the next few months to several years. Along with the new look for your inbox, Contacts has also been relocated. Some of you might be used to going over to a drop-down menu on the left-hand side of your screen to switch over to your Contacts view. Contacts are now available from the Apps Launcher or the Google Grid. And so you can go over to the launcher, select Contacts, it will open up in a new tab. So you can still have your inbox open along with your list of contacts. It's a definitely cleaner look and feel, it's fresher, and the new Contacts tool will also merge any duplicates that you have, so you don't have several different listings for the same person. So that definitely cleans it up. So I do want to switch back over to Inbox for you to give you a preview of the new interface if you haven't seen it already. This is a typical view that you might see. Now yours might be set up a little bit different based on the settings that you've selected, but honestly, it's very similar. One thing that you will notice that's different when it comes to your messaging list is that it will show you a preview if there are attachments. Some people really like to know if there's a document or a file that they need to click on and review. To other people, it might be a little cluttery. So you do have the option of going into your settings gear and changing your display density. So from your density list, you can choose comfortable or compact. We'll start with comfortable. And you can see that comfortable gets rid of that extra line that does show you the attachment preview. And I think this looks very similar to the classic version. So if you're trying to get back to that same view, this might be a good choice for you. If you go back to display density, you can choose compact. And that will get rid of a lot of the extra white space. So it's going to condense all of the text and make it real tight there on your screen. Again, this is a personal preference, so whatever you prefer to do, you can kind of play around with it and test it out and see what works best. I also wanted to highlight the sidebar that I mentioned earlier. So over here on the right-hand side, you'll see those quick access options to calendar. You can click on calendar and get a little preview over here on the right side of your screen. You can close that out. There's also a icon for keep and for tasks. And again, eventually we hope to see additional apps added over here. If, again, that's taking up too much space, you can choose to hide that side panel by clicking on this little right arrow at the bottom right hand corner, and it will remove that side panel for you. And then finally, I wanted to show you where you can get to your contacts. So again, you might be used to coming over to a drop-down menu on the left-hand side of your inbox, but now you can go to the Apps Launcher, or also known as your Google Grid, and you can find that Contacts app and open that up in another tab, and you'll see that it is a lot cleaner. You'll still have your labels and your groups available. It will walk you through steps on how to merge any duplicate contacts that you have, so you can follow those steps along. It's very user-friendly. Just remember to go to your Apps Launcher in order to find it. All right, so moving on to Calendar, there are several new features available in Calendar that we're excited about. The first of those that we wanted to share is working hours. Some of y'all may have used working hours before. It wasn't quite as flexible, but now you have the ability to set unique working hours for each day of the week. So you can decide if you're, maybe you have different set hours for Monday, Wednesday, Friday than you do Tuesday, Thursday, then you can set up unique hours based on what your schedule is. Users who schedule a meeting during those working hours, or I'm sorry, outside of those set hours, they will receive an automatic response to let them know that you are not scheduled to be working or to be in the office at that time. So they will know ahead of time that you are not available. And I'll show you in just a second how you can set this up, but it is found under your settings gear, in your settings under the working hours menu option. So let's take a look real quick about how to configure those working hours. If we pop out here to Calendar, under the settings gear, we can click on Settings. And then under General, we would choose working hours. And you will have to make sure that they are enabled. So you'll have to check the box to enable those working hours. And then you can determine what days of the week that you want to set hours for. So if you just work Monday through Saturday, you can disable, or Monday through Friday, you can disable Saturday and Sunday. And then you can choose what your start time is and what your end time is for each day. And if you have the same start and end times every day, you can simply select Copy Time to All, and that will make all of your times consistent. These changes are automatically saved, so you don't have to click on a save button or anything like that to make sure they stay put. All right, so the next new feature I wanted to share with you regarding calendar is out of office. So out of office hours can be set when you are traveling, or if you are in a training class, or if you're in a conference, any reason that you might be away from the office. The nice thing about setting up out of office hours are that if you are invited to an event, the owner of that event will automatically receive a message saying that you are not able to attend. You can customize that response, and I'll show you how to do that in just a minute as well. So if we hop back out here to calendar, you can select a block of time on your calendar. And instead of adding your normal title and details, you would actually select the option out of office. So we'll automatically populate a title or a subject for that block of time. You can customize that. So if you wanted to change that to Katie out of office, you can. You can confirm the date and time that you're not going to be available, and then you can customize your decline message. So this is going to be the message that people receive if they try to schedule you during this block of time. So I'll just show you real quick. Testing. You also have the ability to change the visibility of your message. So you can see you can keep it public, or change to your default visibility, or make this particular event private. And once you have everything configured, you can click Save. You'll confirm that's the appropriate information, and save again. And so now if Louise were to try to schedule me for an event on Saturday from 1 to 5, she would receive an automatic response that said, oh, Katie is out of the office. So hopefully she would change that day and time to something that would work for everyone. All right, and then the last new feature in calendar that we wanted to share with you today is the ability to propose a new time. So this might happen to you or other people that you know, but an event owner might invite you to a meeting. Maybe you accepted it the first time, and then something came up at the last minute, and instead of having to track everybody down, you just wanted to propose moving the event to another day and time. So now there's a way you can do that within calendar, and you don't have to try to make phone calls or send emails. You can simply click on the option, propose a new time, select the day and time that you would like to have the meeting, and then that goes back to the event owner. And the event owner has the ability to review that proposal and can determine whether to approve or decline it. So very quickly, I will demo this. So back over here on the calendar, I have been invited to a meeting on Saturday. I prefer not to work on Saturdays. So if I select this event, and at the bottom where I would normally choose what my attendance status is going to be, I can click on this drop-down arrow, and you'll see the option to propose a new time. So if I click propose a new time, I'm going to move my dates. I'm going to advance it to Monday, because I know I'll be in the office Monday, and I can look at my availability and the event owner's availability, determine a good time that works for both of us, and I can add an option, or an optional message rather, over on the left-hand side of the screen. Would prefer not to come into the office on Saturday, or whatever you need to share with the event owner, and then send the proposal. And at that point, you can tell that this hasn't been officially accepted, and the event owner will receive an email, and at that point they can determine whether to accept or decline the proposed new meeting time. So hopefully everyone will be able to benefit from those new features and share those with your colleagues. I think they're really helpful and can save you a lot of time when you're in calendar. Okay, moving on to Docs and Drive. The activity dashboard rolled out a few months ago, I would say, or maybe last month. It hasn't been around for too long, but basically the activity dashboard will allow you to see who has viewed a file. This is really helpful when you are collaborating with other people on a project or on a document, and maybe you have a deadline and you need everyone to review the document before that deadline. You can easily access and see who has logged in to view the document that you shared with them. And if certain users have not logged in yet, then you can send them an email and remind them to do so just from this particular tool. So Activity Dashboard is available in Sheets, Docs, and Slides. And I do want to demo this for you real quick. I've been using this a lot because we work on a lot of group projects and we have a lot of committee meetings and that sort of thing. So it's really helpful to know how many people have had their eyes on a particular document. So I have an example agenda here, and under Tools, you can find Activity Dashboard. And it will show you who it's been shared with and if they logged in to view the document, and it will show you their last view date. So you can see along the list how many people have logged in to view this particular document. And then there's 2 users or 2 collaborators who have not. So you do have the ability to send an email from this window. If you wanted to send an email to everybody, you could select all. You could select all without a view date, or you can just select the individual people who you wanted to email. Now, in this particular case, I would probably want to send an email to the users who have not logged in yet. So I can check their boxes next to their profile pictures, click on continue, and then type my message here. Please make sure to review this document before Friday at 5 p.m. or whatever message or reminder you needed to share with them. If you wanted proof that you sent them this reminder, you do have the ability to send a copy of this email to your account. So you can see the same message that they received and will have access from your inbox. And then you can click on send. So that is Activity Dashboard. One more thing I did want to show you here is viewer trend. If you're interested in seeing when viewers are logging in to look at your document, you can see a nice little graph here that will show you activity. All right, so back over to our slides. Something else that's new to Drive is the ability to comment on a preview of an external file. So if you have a Microsoft Office document, a PDF, or an image that you wanted to make a copy, or I'm sorry, that you wanted to make a comment on, and you didn't want to have to download it and open it up or convert it, Google now allows you to be able to preview a non-Google file from your Drive pane and add a comment without having to take any extra steps. So I'll show you again briefly how you can comment on a non-Google file from its preview window. So I've got a folder here in Google Drive. I have a Microsoft Word document that I wanted to review. So I can double click on it. I see a preview. There's already been a comment made, but if I wanted to add on to this, I can simply highlight the area where I want to make a comment, click on the comment icon, and go ahead and type in my feedback. And then when collaborators download this file, they'll all see the comments appear as well. So another great time-saving tool when it comes to collaboration here within Google Drive. Google Sites. Google Sites has definitely gone through some major changes over the past few years. If any of you have worked in Sites before, you'll notice obviously that they've gone from a classic interface to a new interface over the past year or two, and they continue to roll out new features and functionality, which just makes it super user-friendly. And so we're really excited to share with you some of the new tools that they've added recently. The first being pre-built layouts. So maybe when you are creating your site, you don't know the best way to lay out content or images. Well, Google now has provided 6 different suggestions for you, and they are customizable. So once you add them to your site and maybe you wanted to change some things around or modify where images are or where content lives, you still have the ability to do that, but it just prevents you from having to recreate the wheel if you know that you want to use a particular layout that Google has suggested. I'll show you how this works in just a minute. But before I do so, I also wanted to highlight customizable buttons. Buttons are basically consistent design links. So they make all of your links easy to find. They make it easy to navigate. They increase the visibility of some of these important links so you don't have URLs just hodgepodge everywhere and it's hard for people to know where they need to click. So it definitely keeps your Google site looking consistent and attractive to the end user. So let's take a look real quick at sites. I have a test site that I've created. It's not very pretty, so don't take any tips when it comes to design, but I just wanted to show you a few things here. So first of all, when we talked about layouts, over under the Insert tab under your editing view, you can find your 6 suggested layouts. And you can click to select any one of those layouts and just drag and drop it over into your editing pane. And from here, you can move on to uploading images, uploading Drive files, YouTube videos, maps, that sort of thing. And then you also have placeholders for content. And you can click to edit however you need to. Buttons can also be found under the Insert tab. You'll see a button option underneath the layouts, and if you click on button, it will allow you to go ahead and type in whatever name you wanted to give this button. So we'll just say get help, and we can type in help.ncsu.edu, click on insert, and you can easily click and drag and move that button around. So now you have a nice list of links that are consistent, same color, same font, that sort of thing. So everyone knows if it looks like this, I can click on it and it'll take me somewhere else. So if you wanted to preview some of these changes, you could click on preview and test them out. And so you'll see it'll take you over to that website. Okay, so those are layouts and buttons in Google Sites. I'm going to pass it on over to Louise, and she's going to talk to you a little bit more about forms and slides and Hangouts.
Thank you, Katie. All right, so let's get started with forms. The big thing with forms is more customizable themes. If you have ever tried to customize a Google form, you may have been a little frustrated in the past. I know I was. So I'm really happy to see these changes. I will be honest, and I'll point this out to you in the demo and say that I wish they made it a little more customizable. So I'll point out some of those things that I hope they change. We'll show you what they have changed. First, it's more theme colors, and they have finally brought some consistency to cropping when you upload a custom image. This has been a huge question mark for the past several years about what size of a form header, if you want to use your own custom image, you should use. And Google has not provided a great answer for that, but now we have one. It's a 4:1 ratio. So I would recommend a 1600 by 400 image size if you make it outside of Google Forms. And other ratios will be cropped, and I'll demo that right now. So let's hop over to Google Forms. So I've got a blank form here, and I can customize my form by choosing the Customize Theme paint palette, and we get our theme options. So I'm going to choose a header. I'm going to go to My Albums because I've already got an image waiting for me. I'm going to choose this panoramic picture here of Holiday Hall. This isn't a 4:1 ratio, but you can see it's close. And this is our new cropping we can kind of drag out the crop there and select. So once this is uploaded, what Google does and what they've done in the past was they're going to choose some theme colors that they think match our image, which is okay, but not great all the time, particularly when we're talking about NC State brand. So something I had struggled with a lot, I would upload something with the NC State brick in it, and it would give me pink as my background because it said that was a coordinating color with the NC State red. It was not great. So it's chosen some browns and blues as our theme colors. But if we want to change those, we can add a custom color and put in, let's say, our NC State red using that hex code. Those hex codes are available at brand.ncsu.edu, but CC0000 is Wolfpack red. I'm going to add that. This is where it gave us that pink background. I'm going to pop over to preview our form. And so we picked that accent color. And you can see here at the top of the form, right underneath Holiday Haul, that's where we put in that Wolfpack red. But what it's giving us is not exactly Wolfpack red, and our background isn't Wolfpack red either. And that's where some of my frustrations are with our custom theme. It's not quite as custom as I would like it to be. Let me hop back over here, but we can now choose our background color. So I can have my custom theme color, my accent color being Wolfpack red. We can see it here in our questions, but I don't have to have a pink background anymore. The other thing they've added for forms customization is a font style. So you can choose a few different font styles here. I will say that for NC State brand reasons, you should probably stick with basic. That's our closest to our brand fonts. But if you're doing something outside of NC State, you have more options for font styles. Now we can preview our form, and we've got something that's closer to brand without a big pink background. Close these things and come back to our presentation. Next, Google Slides. So I've got a little bit of an Inception thing going on here with slides inside slides. So I'm going to pop to a different presentation. Same slides that you'll see if you clicked on the presentation slides, but in the slide editor view, so I can edit and present at the same time. So we've got a few new things added to Google Slides. The first thing is the sidebar. Katie talked about the sidebar that's available in Gmail. It's exactly the same stuff that's available in Docs and Slides now. So we see it on the side here, and we still have the ability to hide and show the panel. And there are more apps that should be coming to that sidebar soon. Next, we have the ability to skip slides. I'm probably going to talk more about skipping slides than it shows to demo skipping slides. But in the past, if you wanted to skip a slide in a presentation, you just had to delete it. Now we have the ability to skip it. So if you right-click on your slide, you can choose Skip Slide. And it shows you this eye with a line through it. That means it's not going to be presented. And then to show it again, we can right-click and unhide our slide. Next thing, format options. Format options give you a lot of advanced features depending on the type of object that you have selected. So I've got 3 different kinds of object on the slide. I've got an image, a video from YouTube, and text boxes. So let's show kind of how these things look. So when I select an object, I get this format options up here on our toolbar. And it's going to give me contextual choices based on our object. So what they've done with format options is pull a whole bunch of options and settings into one place, as well as added some new ones. The new one that's available for all types of objects is size and position. So in the past, if you wanted a box or an object or an image to be an exact size, you couldn't do it. You just had to wing it as far as the size of an object. Now you can put in inches how big you want something to be and its position on your screen, as well as put in an exact angle of rotation. So you get a lot more precision in there. The one I want to highlight for text boxes is text fitting, because I think this is pretty cool. Definitely an advanced slide feature here. So we have the ability to put in text padding now, and where that would come in is, let's say you want to have a colored background for your text box. And this is something that people do pretty regularly. Oh, that's a terrible color. Let me pick something you can actually see the text behind it. So if I were to just fill the text box, now my text kind of runs into the side of my text box. And in the past, if you wanted to do something about that, you maybe had another colored box behind your text box that you'd sort of nudge over to the side so that it would have a little bit of padding. But now I can type in custom padding, top, bottom, left, and right. Now I've got a nice little buffer around my text box so the text isn't running into the side of it. So let's show what these format options look like on a different type of object. So here on videos, this is a video from YouTube. I have video playback, and I can choose a custom start and custom end time for my video, which I think is fantastic. So you're putting in a video from YouTube that's 30 minutes long, you just want to show 1 minute of it, put in your custom start and end time, you hit play, it'll just show that minute that you've chosen. You see you have a few other options like autoplay when presenting and the ability to mute audio, which is also fantastic. No surprises when you're up there presenting. And lastly, if you choose an image, you get a few different options as well, mostly recolor. If you've been around Google Slides for a while, you'll know that recolor isn't new. They've just moved it to a different place in the format options. And I didn't point it out a whole lot, but we have drop shadows and reflections on all of these objects as well. So go ahead and play with format options at some point, and you'll find that there are some cool things in there for any type of object that you're on. And lastly, with Google Slides, we have Insert Diagram. Let me close this sidebar here because we're going to use it for something else. So Insert, we have got all of our different types of objects we can insert here. Diagram is brand new. It's going to give us some different types of objects we can insert, like a timeline or a hierarchy, like if you wanted to make an org chart. I'm going to choose hierarchy. It's going to give me a bunch of different styles I can choose from, a number of levels of hierarchy, and a color. You do have limited color options here, but you can change them once it's inserted into your presentation. So all I do, click it, and it gets added to my slide. So if I wanted to make this an org chart, I could just type in here, replace this lorem ipsum text with whatever I wanted to, and I have all the same editing options for these boxes as I would if I manually added them, like changing the color or the line thickness, but I just don't have to manually add them. So I think that's pretty neat. They've got some really nice styles in there that could save you a ton of time. Let me close this one and jump back ahead. I'm going to have to skip through the slide presentations I just showed you in the other presentation. We're going to move on to Hangouts Meet. So Hangouts Meet is the new video conferencing tool that's replacing the old Google Hangouts, Classic Hangouts conferencing. So it's an all-new platform. Just say that Classic Hangouts was 7 years old, and it was beginning to show its age a little bit with speed and video quality. So the new Hangouts Meet is faster, cleaner, and higher resolution. And there is a new mobile app for iOS and Android that you can find in the Play Store or the App Store under Hangouts Meet. So that means that you can take your video conferencing with you as you go and are away from your computer. So let's talk about 2 ways to start a Meet. There's a new place, meet.google.com, and then you can also have one start a Meet from Google Calendar. And just a note, why it's important to know how to get to a Meet is that you can no longer invite people from inside your meeting. So in the old Classic Hangouts, there was a little button that you could tap, would say invite people, and you would type in their email address, and Google Hangouts would send them an invitation to join your video conference. They've taken that away and instead giving meeting details. So meeting details, which I'll demo in just a second, is essentially a meeting code or a dial-in number that people can join your meeting. So you have to think a little bit further in advance about how you're going to get people into your Meet as opposed to just inviting them from inside the Hangout. So meet.google.com, that is the new landing place. That's where you'll go to start an on-demand meeting, join a meeting with a meeting code that somebody has shared with you, or to join an already scheduled meeting. And just like with slides, we're in a little bit of I'm already on a video conference, so I can't show you another video conference, so I'll show you some screenshots instead. So this is what meet.google.com looks like. They have rotating backgrounds now, so it's going to look different every time you go in, but we can see that we can start a new meeting just by clicking that plus button. We can enter a meeting code, and I'll show you what a meeting code looks like in just a minute if somebody has shared one with you. And if we have a meeting scheduled for that day, it'll show up along the bottom here, and all we do is click to join the meeting that's already scheduled. Next, this is Google Calendar. So if you had been familiar with adding a classic Hangout in Google Calendar, it works just the same. This is what you'll do if you'll schedule a meet in advance. Definitely easier to invite large groups of individuals or a Google group. And the meeting code and the PIN number for the phone number join are in the meeting invite. So let's show what that looks like. But to add it, just click Add Conferencing once you're in your calendar details and select Hangouts Meet. It'll do all the work for you. So this is what it looks like when you have already added a meeting. We can see our meeting details under this Join Hangouts Meet, meet.google.com/letters. That's the meeting code. That's what you would enter if somebody shared it with you. Just share the meet code with you. You could go to meet.google.com and enter those letters there. And then we have our dial-in number with the PIN. If this were not just a screenshot, I would also be able to click the Join Hangouts Meet. That would be a link, and I would be able to go and directly join. So you don't have to type in things if you have the calendar invitation already. And just a note, Meet does still support screen sharing, text chat inside the video call, and up to 25 participants. But we do have some new and improved features. So one of the big highlights is better handling of external, and by external I mean non-NC State invitees. So in the past, you had to have a Google account or a Gmail account to join a Hangout, which could be a little awkward, especially when we're working with other, say, UNC system schools that aren't Google campuses. So people would have to use their personal Gmail accounts to join maybe something like a conference or committee work between schools, which is okay, but maybe not great. So now there's no Google account required, which I think is fantastic. It's just if anybody has that meeting code or a link, they can join. They must ask to join, and anyone inside the meeting can approve. So let me show you some screenshots of what that looks like. So this is what it looks like for an external person. So they don't have a Google account. This is what you shared. Let's say you've got a colleague at UNC that you're working with. This is what it looks like to them. You can see our meeting details here. Those are the meeting code. They type in their name and click Ask to Join Meeting. What it looks like to the person inside the meeting, someone from outside of NC State wants to join, the name they've typed, and then anyone in the meeting, not just the meeting organizer, can admit or deny entry. Other improved highlights, you've heard me mention this a little bit, but now we've got dial in and dial out capabilities. So dial out, you can call a US or Canadian number. That's if the creator is in the US. So where the creator or the meeting owner is where we'll determine where they're able to call. And then we have a dial-in number that's provided to all people who are invited to the meeting automatically. I will note that it is not a toll-free number, so keep that in mind if you're in a conference room that can't dial long-distance numbers. You may need to do the dial-out instead. So this is what dialing out looks like. So if you wanted to do a conference bridge or you had somebody who couldn't dial in because it was a long-distance number, you can add one person by phone. So you simply type in the phone number that you want to do, hit this call button, and it will add them to conference. And here's just a view of what it looks like when somebody is calling into you. So it does mask their phone number a little bit. So you get a view with the last 2 digits of who's calling you. All right, and we're going to switch over to coming soon to G Suite, some things that Katie mentioned are sneak peek of some features that are coming up, rolling out soon. We've got 2 we're going to talk about. First being Hangouts Chat, coming sometime this fall, and then new roles in Team Drive. They'll come out in October of this year, so sometime next month. So let's talk about Hangouts Chat. So Hangouts Chat is the all-new text chat that's replacing classic Hangouts text chat. So I just talked about Hangouts Meet. I know there's a lot of words here. Katie's laughing. Hangouts Meet, Chat, Classic, Classic Hangouts was your kind of all-in-one tool, video conferencing, text chat, living in different places. Google has decided to break these up, and now we're going to have Hangouts Meet for video conferencing and Hangouts Chat for text and collaboration. And it really is more than just text chat. So let's talk a little bit about what it's going to have. The big thing, it's going to have rooms. So what Google wants to do is to make chat a more collaborative space. It's not just for kind of off the cuff, where are we going for lunch today? Are you in your office kind of things. It's for more permanent collaboration. So these rooms are going to exist more permanently. and they're going to allow people to come and go, and they're going to have message threading. Message threading you can also think of as nested replies, which makes it really a lot easier to keep track of who's replying to what. I think we've all been in a group chat or a text experience where like who's talking to who at what time, what conversation are you a part of, because everything's just in one single thread as people respond. So message threading means that you can have several messages going on at the same time and all the replies stick with the conversation that they're in. It also means that you have the ability to customize when you want to get notifications for threads you're interested in and not be bothered for ones that don't apply to you. There's also better integration with Google Apps. So what that means is that you'll be able to insert a Google Drive file and have people click on it and collaborate in it right there in your chat instead of having to insert a link and pop over and go different places. Another fun thing are bots. So these are robots, little non-humans who do things for you inside the chat. So there's a whole bunch of different ones that do real work-related things, but I think probably my favorite little bot that I've played with is Polly. So what Polly does is it adds polls. So you can invite a bot to your room. I'm just using all the jargon here. Invite a bot to your room and direct message it and tell it, Polly, make me a poll about where we should go for lunch today. And I could say, give me the poll options, pizza, burgers, or sushi, and then everybody in my room will be able to vote on where we go for lunch. There are definitely things that are more hardcore work, but there are some fun ones too. So Hangouts Chat, like I said, coming sometime this fall, and I've got a little preview here of what it looks like. So it is big. It's going to be a whole standalone app. It's not just living in this little window in your email anymore. And we can see that we've got these message threads, we've got a lot of people working in here. And I even see, if you're very eagle-eyed, you can see the Polly bot here on the sidebar. And next, the last thing we're going to preview for you today is new roles in Team Drive. So this, again, has a proposed rollout date of October, and they've added a new role for Content Manager. My next slide is going to talk about what that means. They've also renamed existing roles. So here's how it works. Everything has changed in a really good way, I think. So there's been a criticism about Team Drive is that the way that the permissions and roles were set up didn't really match the way a lot of teams worked. So they're adding this content manager role to allow for a role that you can organize, move, and rearrange files, but not need the full access of being able to remove and add team members or add and remove members to the Team Drive. So previously, if somebody wanted to just move a file from one folder to another, they had to have full access. And that doesn't always work. So adding that new content manager role and then renaming, so full access becomes a manager. Content manager is one level below that manager level, so they get that organize, move, remove. Edit access becomes a contributor, comment access, commenter, and view access, viewer. So I like that they're renaming things. I think it better aligns with what people are doing in there, and it makes it a little clearer what does full access mean. Now it just means manager. It's a little more transparent. So definitely looking forward to those changes. I think. Questions?
All right. So hopefully you all are excited about some of these new features, especially if you haven't heard of them before. Hopefully this has opened your eyes to new ways to use Google Apps here at NC State. I'm looking at the Q&A document right now, and it doesn't seem to be like there are any questions that need to be answered, but if something comes to mind, you have a few more minutes before we do conclude, so feel free to take that opportunity and get those questions typed in, and we'll try to answer them before the conclusion. But we did want to share the presentation link with you if you do want to view the slides and the content that we presented today. You can get there from this Go link. It's also linked into the Q&A document, so you don't have to type in the whole thing. You can just click on the presentation slides link within the document itself. You can also get back to the recording in YouTube by clicking on the YouTube recording link that's also in the document. As far as upcoming events and other ways that you can participate with OIT, our fall schedule of classes is set through the end of December. So hopefully you will be able to visit Reporter and browse through our technology courses that are planned, and will be able to join us, whether it's in person on campus or through other virtual trainings. But you can definitely see what we have on the schedule by visiting go.ncsu.edu/learnit. We're also really excited to share our upcoming Cybersecurity Awareness Month schedule of events. CSAM happens every year during October, and we have a full schedule of events this year that we're really excited about, and we hope that you'll be able to attend, and we hope that you'll be able to share these events with your colleagues and with students that you work with. As you know, cybersecurity is a hot topic, and we've seen an increased number in compromised accounts on campus, and the phishing attacks are getting more and more intelligent. So we're really trying to make users aware of what's happening, and so they can stay on top of these phishing emails and other ways that hackers are trying to get to you and to get your data. So you'll see the lineup for October. I really want to emphasize the first event, our kickoff event, which is on October 10th. It is a cybersecurity panel. We have several Triangle experts on cybersecurity who will participate in the panel. It will be over at the Hunt Library from 10 a.m. to noon, and we're going to have representatives from SAS. So the CISO from SAS is going to be there. We've got people coming from Ernst & Young, from the FBI, from Cisco, also representatives here from the College of Engineering at NC State. There's going to be a Q&A opportunity. There's also going to be representatives from the organization's career centers, so they can talk to students and other attendees about career opportunities in cybersecurity. So we definitely hope you'll be able to attend. And I also wanted to emphasize the RTP 180 fake news event that is scheduled for October 24th. Again, we're going to have experts in that field do a TED Talks type of approach. So these experts will talk for about 5 minutes, and then the audience will have an opportunity to ask questions. Especially for the October 24th event, we will have lots of refreshments, and we are going to be working with the NC State Brewery, and they're going to be providing free beer. So we don't want you to miss out on that. It's going to be a great networking opportunity too. So tell your friends and visit go.ncsu.edu/csam2018 to register. We do need registrations for all of these events, but they are also all free. So you don't have to pay anything, and you have hopefully a very entertaining experience, and you learn a lot of really helpful tips to stay safe online. So we hope to see you there. There's also other ways to stay connected with the training team and with OIT. You'll see our Twitter accounts, our Google Plus accounts. Again, a reminder for the training calendar, and you can always reach out to the trainers within the Office of Information Technology by emailing classreg@ncsu.edu. One plug for custom trainings. We also get a lot of feedback that people don't necessarily have the time to come to one of our classes. Maybe it's just not a convenient time for them, or it's difficult to travel across campus to get to a lab. We are more than willing to travel to you. So if you have a group of at least 5 people, we will be happy to send one of our trainers to meet with you and to create a customized agenda and target those questions and the Google features that you really are interested in learning more about. So don't hesitate to ask us for a custom training. We are more than happy to work with you on that. All right, I was going to look back at the Q&A document. Any other questions? We all set there? All right, very good. Well, thank you again for hanging out with us during your lunch break. Again, I hope you learned something new, and I hope you'll share some of this information with other people you work with. And feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or want more information about what we talked about today. Thanks again.